Welcome.
To the New Mexico Momcast. I'm Vanessa Bush.
And I'm Becca Lusko-Toops. The New Mexico Momcast is a show from ABQ Mom for local moms as we navigate raising our kids in the land of enchantment.
Well, how are you today, Becca?
Pretty good. I'm excited about today's episode, but first I always come up with these little ideas that I want to talk to Vanessa about because I want to know how her brain works, and I want to talk about grocery shopping.
How do people do things?
How do you
Grocery.
do this? Well, and I feel like when you ask questions like that to other moms, sometimes you pick up tips and it makes your life easier in some ways, or like, oh, I could incorporate that, or like, oh no, that doesn't work for me at all.
How do you grocery shop? Are you an online orderer? No.
Well, like if I need something in a pinch, like from Target, I'll pick it up if I don't want to go in for one thing. But I don't like to I think I'm also like an in-person shopper. And for me, the grocery store is kind of like, it's almost like my time sometimes to go in and like pick things up and stroll through the aisles and then, add in extra stuff that we know. Oh, what do they have now? What are they doing in like the home cleaning department?
So I like online grocery shopping. I think that's the only thing I can really think of from, the pandemic season that I'm so glad that's around, right? I'm sure there's other things, but I do love an online grocery pickup order because I just don't like grocery shopping. It feels just utilitarian and boring to me, but I get the idea of like tangibly touching things. I will be honest, sometimes I don't get like the fruit I would have picked, but I'm always like, well, at least I didn't have to go. This is good enough.
Well, and that probably comes down to like, I'm not an intense list keeper as far as things that I need. And so when I'm in the grocery store, I'm like, oh yeah, I saw that. I do need that. I completely forgot. Whereas I have other people that probably like never go into stores at all, ever. And even like,
I wouldn't call myself an intense list keeper, but I do have a note on my phone with like, it's a long list. I got this from Amy Weir, who runs Delineate Your Dwelling Instagram account.
Yeah.
She's lovely. She's so lovely, but she does this. And I was like, oh yeah, that's easy. But just a long list on your phone of like all the dinners you do in rotation, right? Mm-hmm. And stuff I know my family will eat. Everybody pretty much likes, mostly healthy-ish. And so I'll just kind of go through that and I'll plan out our week, and that's the groceries I buy. And then, extras for breakfast and snack and all of that. But I feel like when I do order online, I spend less.
That's true because there's less impulse. That's probably why I like going in person. Well, and I think that's interesting. You said the dinners that my family eat, then it is, I do think about that. There's certain dinners that we make, and ours are a lot of Costco. Like we go do a really big Costco run, and then the other stuff is really more so supplementary. Right. But I have those, like, I could probably say 10 dinners that my kids will be like, what are we having tonight? And I'm like, pulled pork, sliders on Hawaiian rolls. And they're like, oh, I love it. That's like one of our go-to dinners that everyone loves, and it's super easy, Yeah.
I do. So I do go to Costco in person, and that is a treat. But I try to keep it to like not too much because you're always like, what? So my daughter and I have this game, and where when we do go to Costco, we try to guess how much our cart costs.
We do that too. The Price is Right.
Anyway, my husband came with us the other day and he's like, you guys always do this? And he was way off, and we're like, oh, you're the worst.
No. Yes, that's funny you do that. I wonder how many other people, my husband and I do it because we always go. And for those of you with littles, yes, diapers are expensive, but you have never fed teenagers. I have friends with like 1 or 2 little kids that gasp at our grocery bills. Our grocery bills are like a mortgage payment because of the amount that teenagers they're doing so much. My son will drink like 3 protein shakes a day plus, 4 eggs on the side before his dinner, that kind of thing. So yeah, we play the Prices Right, and it's fun. And whoever wins gets a treat when we check out, like a shake or a churro or whatever.
Well, we all get that anyway. What was I going to tell you about the Prices Right? I can't remember, but I know. Well, when my husband came with us, and he was like, putting stuff in the cart. I'm like, what? We don't buy that. Like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I need some new shorts, and I need this bottle of booze. I'm like, hey, that really messes up my Price is Right situation
My,
here.
you got to stay out of for me, I got to stay out of the center, like, because that's where I get into trouble. I start adding like, oh, you know what, I do need some new gardening shears, like. I get in big trouble. I gotta stay to the perimeter to the necessary things.
Oh, I get
Well,
it.
we could talk about maybe we'll make a whole episode about grocery shopping, who knows. But today I'm interviewing Angela Lopez, and we are discussing charter schools. And I didn't realize how ignorant I was on charter schools. And it was really, I just feel like anytime we dive into education, I kind of get excited because I'm like, God, there's so many cool options and things for families and available for different learning styles and needs and things. And I love that we get to raise our children in this time.
For sure. Well, and in this state, I mean, obviously, New Mexico has its flaws. We
Right.
know. We don't have to list them. But school choice here is exceptional. And it is not like that everywhere. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not every state has the options that we have. It's kind of like, well, you go to this school or you pay a lot of money for the private school, right? Like, those are your options. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's a cool it's a cool situation, I think, that we have here to be able to choose what works best for different kids.
Yeah. So this is a really informative episode on that front. So I can't wait for y'all to hear. Well, hi, Angela. Thank you so much for joining me here and taking time out of your day.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
My pleasure. No, I just think it's so important and also interesting to me, just because I mean, I didn't grow up in the Stone Ages, but when I grew up, education was very much more a one size fits all situation. And if it didn't work for you, it's like, sorry, well, better luck next time. And now I love that there are so many different options provided out there for parents and for children to choose from to fit their needs.
I agree. I also, well, maybe I grew up in the Stone Ages, but there weren't as many choice options when I was growing up either. So I'm really blessed to be a part of that now.
Yeah. So your title, you're the field director for the public charter schools of New Mexico, right?
That's correct. Yes.
All right. Take me through all of it. Like, pretend I know nothing, which I kind of do. So we won't be pretending that hard.
Sure. Well, first, I'll start a little bit about our organization. We are an advocacy and a support organization. We promote charter school growth, quality, and independence, and we support schools to increase student achievement across the state.
Okay. So, as I understand it, charter schools are subsidized by the government, but they're not public schools. They're individually run. And you're okay. See, already, I know nothing. Straighten me out.
That's okay. Let's start with the basics. Charter Schools 101. Charter schools are free public schools that are open to all students. They're a very important part of the public school system.
Okay.
They allow families to choose an educational option that best fits the needs of their child. Charter schools offer flexibility to teachers to provide innovative, high-quality instruction and to design classrooms that are more personalized for students. Again, they're public schools. They're guided by school leaders that have found a flexibility to try new ideas and create a school culture that mirrors and supports their surrounding community. Yeah, I guess that's where I'll stop, and then we can go into some more detailed questions.
No, that's great. And I think, I mean, I have 4 children. If I'm confused on what it is, then other people probably are, have incorrect beliefs or understandings of what that looks like, and then thinking that it's more prohibitive than it is because it's public, it's open for everyone, and it's cost free. And I think a lot of times people probably put in their minds maybe a charter school in the realm of a private school or something along those lines. So breaking to that, but your organization supports the charter schools.
Correct. That is correct.
Okay, excellent. So talk to me about what, parents should consider when looking into or considering charter schools as an option for education for their kids.
Absolutely. So we mentioned in the beginning of our conversation that we grew up where education was sort of a one-size-fits-all model. And that's not really true anymore. Children are discovering passions at an early age, things that motivate them. And the beautiful thing about charter schools is that not only are they independently operated, so they're their own independent sort of, you could call it a mini school district, but they are their own independent institution. And they also operate on a mission-focused goal. So, for example, there are performance arts-based charter schools. There are STEM schools, science, technology, engineering, and math schools. There's an aeronautics-focused school in Albuquerque. There's arts integration, project-based learning, entrepreneurship. Really, they are narrowing the focus in education, and the students, are finding motivation, and they're finding more of a love of learning within these systems or within these schools. Not only that, but because they're independently operated, they have the flexibility to be creative with these missions within their curriculum and within their teaching styles and their goals for education.
I love that. I love that I keyed in on you saying, igniting a love for learning, because within my family, one child has a very different learning style and different interests to the next child. And it's, definitely an argument for nature over nurture with how they come out and what's going to really ignite the fire for them and have them enjoy and wanting to go back and wanting to learn, rather than just be like, you have to get up. What's going to inspire them and have them excited about their education, their learning, rather than having to drag them out of bed and send them back and, have them kicking, screaming, doing their homework, etc.
Exactly. And within charter schools, because they're smaller, there's a lot more opportunity for individualized attention. And let's say that maybe you go to an arts integrated charter school. Well, within their science classes or within their kindergarten, learning the body parts, they're interweaving a song or they're interweaving a dance into it. And sometimes that's just the connection that students need to be able to really grasp the concept.
No, that's because I've always considered myself like a colorful learner. Like lists of numbers, not so much, but if like I associate names or pictures or something along those lines, like I make more connections like that. And I don't know what you would classify that, but very much you see that on all different levels in children, and being able to kind of fine tune that and focus in on it and, plug them in exactly where they're going to thrive is such an exciting idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that term, by the way, a colorful learner. I'm going to have to bring that to one of our education calls and say, hey, I heard this, because really it fits a lot of different learning styles.
Okay. Well, that's how I've always thought. Like if I associate things with a picture or have some sort of a color to go in, like I could name 1,200 different colors, but I can't tell you, I can hardly tell you my husband's phone number. So it's
right.
interesting.
See, again, everyone learns differently, and that's the same for our kiddos, right?
Hey, local moms, it's time to shine a spotlight on your Albuquerque favorites. The 2025 ABQ Mom's Choice Awards are here, and we need your voice to crown the best of the best. From the coziest coffee shop to the pediatrician who's always there for your family, this is a chance to vote for the businesses, services, and experiences you love the most in the Albuquerque Metro. Now through March 3rd, let's celebrate the places and people that make Albuquerque home. Head to abqmom.com to submit your picks today.
Okay. So let's say I'm at the point I'm like, well, I know the traditional public school isn't working for my kids. Now what? How do I, and maybe they're, just finishing 5th grade. So they're ready to, I know, maybe middle school is going to be really hard. Where do we go from there? How do I identify what really is going to be a good fit for them? How would you advise parents in that way?
That's a great question. And I love that you brought up 5th grade, because that is usually the grade level. Most parents are satisfied or content with the elementary program that they're in, right? It's that middle school age that you start to recognize, oh my gosh, my kiddo needs help in math. My kiddo needs more help in reading, or whatever the case may be. And you really start looking into schools. At least for me, that was my personal case. I guess the best advice I have, and what I personally did, is I started talking to my son about what his motivations are. Like, what were your passions? What do you want to learn about? What excites you about school? And for him, it was science, it was math, and engineering type concepts, building things with his hands. And so I said, okay, I started looking at STEM focused charter schools. For other families, that might be, an arts program. That might be, hey, I really hate working with just paper and pencil. My child needs a project to do. They need more hands-on things. Well, look into schools that are project-based. Maybe look into things that are performance arts-based. And that's where I started, and that's where I recommend that parents start as well, is looking into the different options that are available to them. Now, with that said, student interests are always important, but as a parent, we want the best for our kids, and we want to make sure that they're on grade level, that they are, they know their ABCs, they can read at 6th grade, they can do math at 7th grade level, etc. So
Yeah.
as a parent, you also want to ask the school, where are your academics? Where are your proficiency ratings? How do you approach if my kiddo's coming in 3rd grade and they're not reading at a 3rd grade level? How do you get them to grade level? Those are really important questions too.
Yeah, definitely. So how would I know what my options are? Is there a central location there? I've heard of a choice fair. That's correct, right?
Mm-hmm.
That happens later in the fall.
We actually hosted one one weekend ago. It was the Albuquerque School Fair, and we had representatives from traditional public schools, private schools, public charter schools, homeschooling groups. It's a really beautiful event. We're about to do it in Las Cruces this upcoming weekend. But to help parents right here and right now, I would recommend that they go to our website, which is publiccharterschoolsnm.org, or really just go pcsnm.org, publiccharterschoolsnewmexico.org.
Okay.
And
we'll have that linked in the show notes for sure, so parents can find it.
Fantastic. And you could probably cut out the public charter schools, just say pcsnm.org.
Okay.
On the pcsnm.org website, there is a link called Find a School, and it's all of the charter schools across the state. You can search by grade level, you can search by zip code, you can search by region. You can just move your mouse along the map, and from there it'll populate the list of schools, or you can hover over one and it'll say a school's name, the grades that it serves, as well as its mission statement. And the mission statement, I believe, is really important because it gives you a focus to look at. Is it a performing arts school? Is it a STEM-based school? Does it concentrate on online learning? We do have online charter schools as well. And that's something that's very important to look at. Now, I will say that within the city limits of Albuquerque, there are nearly 60 charter schools across the East Mountains down to Las Lunas, Rio Rancho, Albuquerque area. And as a parent, that can be really daunting. You look at it and that's a lot. So what we offer is my individual contact information is on our website. Reach out to me, and I'm happy to just have a personalized conversation about what's working for your kiddo, what's not working for your kiddo. What are you looking for in a school environment? Is there a focus that you would like to have as a parent? What's important to all aspects of the family when making that really important decision.
Yeah, what a great support and resource that you and your organization provide, because that is where I'd be like, I just jumped to the deep end, and what if I choose the wrong one and I didn't even realize this? And then also, like you said, organizing by zip code, location is important. That can be prohibitive as well. And are there some of these charter schools that do have transportation options, that pick up in one central location, that kind of thing, busing?
Absolutely. And some charter schools have that option right now, and some charter schools are still working to get that option. So that is very important for families to know as well. Another thing that I would always recommend to families, and it's really important in this particular time of year, is charter schools are having open houses. Some of them are virtually online, some of them are in person, some of them you can contact a school personnel member and they can, walk you through what goes on at their school the day by day. And I think that is absolutely critical when you're making those decisions, because you can talk to me and I can say, hey, it sounds to me like your child is, going to be really strong in a STEM focused school. But then that child maybe tours a school that's performing arts based and really connects with what's going on. They connect with either the math teacher, or they connect with the performing arts program, or whatever the case may be. But the open houses are crucial for you to learn about that school's environment, what they offer, what it feels like. Are the students in that open house talking to you? Can they give you like a student perspective? So open houses are really important.
That's really good. And then kind of getting a feel probably for the culture of the school, what the expectations are going to be placed at home.
Mhm.
If we have a very busy lifestyle with lots of extra programs or sports or things, maybe something that's going to require a lot of at home projects and at home learning might not be a best fit or something along those lines.
Right, absolutely. Or if the reason you're searching for a charter school or another school in general is because the current school that you're in is not working,
Mm-hmm.
and you want your child to improve in their academics, you want to ask how that school is going to plan to get you your kid on grade level. What are they going to do to give them the targeted interventions that they need?
That's really good. Yes, these are excellent questions. I hope everyone's writing these things down because something like that wouldn't be something I would necessarily think of to ask that question. Those are really poignant. You had mentioned because they're independently operated, there's some flexibility with as far as curriculum goes.
Mm-hmm.
But they obviously are still meeting the New Mexico state standards and getting our kids up to grade level. Traditionally, are these charter schools performing overall better than a lot of the public schools, or what does that look like?
Sure.
Or is it just
I'm gonna answer in two parts. So yes, they are independently operated. And the beauty of that is that they can make decisions on a quicker basis, right? Like they don't have to go up the chain to make a decision about a child or to make a decision about what's going on in a classroom or a teacher's request. It's pretty quick. It's very immediate. And then to answer the flexibilities within the classroom, I'm sorry, could you ask your question again?
no? You're like, Becca, you just asked me 3 questions in
No,
one.
I
Can I
started going
do
off
that?
on one tangent and I wanted to make sure I answered the second part.
What did I ask you?
Was
Uh,
it? Oh, it was performance. Okay, I got it.
oh yeah, performance versus public schools. Thank you. Yes, how are they performing?
Absolutely. So on average, charter schools are performing higher than their traditional district peers. And what
Okay.
I mean by that is if you look at a proficiency rates of reading, language arts and math, reading, math, and science over the last 5 years, charter schools have a path all the way up like this.
Mhm.
The traditional district schools are creeping up much slowly, but the bars in between them are growing.
Okay. Well, and I imagine, and again, we're talking about 60 different schools just in the Albuquerque metro area, but overall, the student to teacher ratio, I imagine, is probably somewhat smaller than in the traditional public setting.
Traditionally, charter schools do have a lower student to teacher ratio, and that's also because they're smaller, right?
Did
They
I
can
say
offer
parent to teacher?
that.
Student. Yeah.
Did I say parent? Student
No,
to
I
teacher.
think I said parent.
Oh,
You said it correctly.
their
Again.
student to teacher ratio is
Yeah.
often smaller because they're in a smaller environment. Now, again, that's a really important question for a parent to ask that school because every school is different. They're following state and federal standards and regulations and laws. So, there may be one charter school that does have a higher student to teacher ratio, but maybe there's a reason. Maybe they have different pull-out programs or different options.
Or more online time or something along those lines.
Exactly.
Okay. What else would you say are important things for parents and their children to consider when looking into charter schools or other important questions to ask?
Absolutely. So as parents and usually for younger kiddos, we are looking at proficiency, right? Student performance, school performance, academic. And there are some charter schools within New Mexico that are really knocking it out of the park and doing a tremendous job getting proficiency rates up and higher in their classrooms. What I'd like to point out is a couple of options. Number one, the online enrollment in New Mexico for students has grown exponentially. There's nearly 3,000 kids right now in New Mexico enrolled in online public charter schools. And the reason I bring that up is because, again, one size doesn't fit all. And sometimes that environment is best for your kiddo, or perhaps you have the flexibility to homeschool, but you don't have the flexibility to truly homeschool 100% of
Mhm.
the time. Those are really great options to be really heavily involved in your kiddo's education, as well as have a charter school that is invested in making sure your kiddo is doing well. The second point that I'd like to make is our older students. We have a lot of charter schools in the state of New Mexico that are called like re-engagement schools.
Hmm.
Maybe students that are not fitting into the mold of a traditional high school setting, or they need an accelerated program to get out of high school faster, or maybe they need a little bit more attention because it's taking them a little bit longer to graduate. We have some really successful re-engagement schools that are focusing on students' success in all areas: career, life, skills, and graduation. And I think that those are often not talked about because those high schoolers, they're older kiddos, and we're concentrated on the younger, cute ones. But I do believe that those programs need a bigger voice because they're graduating thousands and thousands of students each year that might not otherwise have graduated.
Absolutely, that probably would have slipped through the cracks if it weren't for these sorts of programs. Okay, well, what about things like extracurriculars and other programs and things like that? Are there some athletics? Or are they able to join in the public school sector if they're at a charter school, or what does that look like?
Absolutely. So some charter schools do offer extracurriculars. They offer sports program. It's on a much smaller scale. So, for example, in Albuquerque, there is a charter school league, and the charter schools play one another in certain sports, whether that's volleyball, soccer, basketball. But some charter schools offer those programs. That would be a question that you'd want to ask the schools that you're looking into. Now, if you are attending a charter school that doesn't offer those programs, you can participate in your traditional district school's sports program. You just have to follow the same tryouts or the same, regulations that they have in place.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I like that. So there still are plenty of other opportunities. You're not isolating yourself from those things.
Correct. And I've seen a lot of students, for example, I haven't seen many charter schools with a football program, but there's students that are attending charter schools and playing football for their district school's football team.
Yeah, that's really neat. Well, what else? What other advice? Gosh, this has flown by and been so interesting. I really appreciate you just kind of completely educating me from the ground up on what this looks like. What's any other information that you'd like to get out there for parents to know or consider about the charter
absolutely. If I could end on something, or if I could impart on anybody anything, what I would like to leave parents with is that charter schools are an option that are available to everybody. They're free public schools, they're tuition free, and you are available to enroll in them. Some have enrollment right now. If you're not happy with where your child is at, reach out to those charter schools. If you want a different option moving into middle school, don't close the door on those charter middle school options. Look at what's available to them. Have a conversation with your child. Talk to them about the unique programs within these charter schools, and I bet you'd be surprised as to what would work for them, what clicks for them.
That's excellent. Well, there's a few questions we always like to ask our guests and get some other insight. So, Angela, and you are a mother to two, right? You have a senior in high school and then
a sixth grader. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. So you're still in the thick of it for sure.
Still in the game. I got one graduating and I'm still in the game.
Yeah. What was one of your favorite local Albuquerque or New Mexico spots for your family?
For my family, let's see here. As far as to eat, we are a big fan of Urban Hot Dog Company, specifically the Nob Hill location. As parents, we like to frequent the speakeasy that's downstairs called Fat Frank's if you need a date night idea.
Oh, nice.
And as a family, we love Explora. My kids are science nerds, and they love Explora.
Well, and Explora has that great X Studio now that's kind of geared towards the older kids, and it just really gives them something to do. And speaking of igniting a love of learning and STEM, that definitely fits the bill.
Yes, it does.
Awesome. So what's something that you're watching, listening to, or reading and loving right now?
Oh gosh. What am I watching? My husband and I just finished the Shogun series on, I think it's FX.
Okay.
And we loved it. It's visually stunning. It's hard to get through because it's subtitled and it's an hour long, but it's visually stunning and a really great storyline.
Honestly, if I get engaged in a show with subtitles, it's so good because the temptation to look at my phone is gone. It focuses me to just pay straight attention and really follow along. And I've heard great things about that series.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Well, last but certainly not least, any advice you have for the parents in New Mexico, charter school based or otherwise?
Let's see here. I was really intimidated when I started looking into charter schools for my son. This was before I entered the work line that I'm in, and I was really, really intimidated. And I thought, what kind of decision am I making for him? And now that he's about to graduate high school, he's one of the spokespersons for his school. He absolutely thrives there and tells me all the time that we made the right decision for him. And so as a parent, that's incredibly reassuring. We always worry if we're doing a good job. So having those conversations about what school is like for your kiddo is really very important.
Well, gosh, thanks again, Angela, for being here on the New Mexico Momcast. Again, you can find all these links to these resources that we've talked about in the show notes. Angela, the field director of the Public Charter Schools of New Mexico. Thank you.
Thanks, Becca. Have a great day.
Too. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to the New Mexico Momcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you can never miss an episode. If you enjoyed today's conversation, we'd love it if you left us a review. It helps more moms find us. And be sure to follow us on Instagram at NMMomcast and at ABQMom_ for more connection, resources, and updates. See you next time.